Action Comics number 14, written by Grant Morrison, art by Rags Morales. This is just a Doctor Who story. That is it. That's it. So we're on Mars, and something is attacking a settlement that I guess is on Mars, trying to like terraform or something like that. And they are all making their way into a dome for their own safety. And it turns out that it is the Metalex that Superman has been battling for a while now, which is just sentient construction equipment, I guess. So they scream out, oh, they're tearing down everything and rebuilding it into something else. Can anyone save us? And that ring goes all the way out from Mars to Earth, where Clark has already zipped off as Superman to go and save them. And it's a nice little segment here of him. You see him like passing by an airplane, going out the atmosphere and making his way to Mars. So all the Metalex are reconstructing the stuff into different things, and we see a parent is like comforting their child up here, which I don't know why there's a child on Mars, but regardless there is. And they're like, okay, our life support is crashing. They've already taken apart the power core. Like, we don't have more than an hour up here, and nobody's coming to save us. And as they do that, we hear all this crumbling and crashing outside, and of course it's Superman showing up to save the day. And Superman makes his way into the enclosure, and they inform him, just like, yeah, they showed up before dawn. They're just building whatever it is out there. And he's like, yeah, they're Metalex. I've run into them before. We can go out there. I will stop them, and I will safely get you home. And they explain, look, we had like 2 other people that were in a different dome. They're still over there. We got to get to them. Got to save them. One of them is the kid's dad. And also, someone swears that they saw a third person, but like, everyone's accounted for, so might want to look into that. But Superman's like, no problem. I will go out there and I will take care of this. And one of them points out, like, hey, based off of what Superman was saying, they're here to basically terraform planets for a race of beings that is no longer in existence, and they're on their way to Earth. So, you know, Mars is there. But if they just explain to the Metalex that they're all working for the same thing, maybe they'll stop. So Superman's like, okay, we'll do. And they make their way out there. Metalex start firing on Superman. Superman just starts like tearing a couple of them apart. He does that thing where like he punches one of them and then like blows on his knuckles because he's just so cool. And then we see after he has destroyed one of them, I guess he talks to them and says, hey, we all want the same thing here. And he manages to make his way over to the other dome, save the other 2 people. And he's like, yeah, explain to them we're all just terraforming this stuff. It's great. However, the reason that these terraformers were sent out is because they were running from something called the Multitude, which I have been warned about in other things. Turns out that Jor-El was the only person who had ever repelled the Multitude. And it turns out they're on their way here to like Earth. So that's, you know, we're getting back to that doomed list planet thing. So at that point, all the signals are getting louder. And it's just like, okay, so how do we beat the Multitude? And Superman's like, I don't know, but my dad did it, and I'm just going to figure it out as I go. So Superman goes back outside, tells them all to stay inside, you know, fully armed to make sure that they're safe. And we see that the Multitude descends on Mars, and they all look like angels. So a bunch of angels just come out attacking Superman, and there are literally like hundreds of thousands of them, and Superman is unable to take them all on. The Metalex, now working with Superman, start attacking the angels as well. And it's like, okay, well, Superman's fighting angels with some sentient construction work. Yep, that sounds about right. On Mars, can't forget that part. Finally, Superman, he gets a second to get away. He gets back into the dome, and he's like, okay, I'm still only just one guy, and there are like literally hundreds of thousands of them. And one of the ladies inside is like, Superman, you promised us you'd be safe, or we'd be safe. You gotta keep your promise, Superman. We gotta find a way out of this. And Superman's like, okay, yeah, sorry, I'll figure it out. And he sits there and he thinks for a second, and he's like, now wait a minute. I have a fork and a piece of paper. This fork is 3-dimensional, but when I push it into the paper, a 2-dimensional object, it leaves 4 imprints. One object in lower dimensions can be seen as multiple objects. This must mean they're higher dimensional objects, like 5th dimensional or something. And he reasons that they can use the power supply of the Mars base to shock the higher dimension and it like take them all out at once. But it would require them basically like fixing all of physics. So sure, whatever. They do it. Superman takes them all out. He uses his own body as a conduit and they're all gone. And so they all make their way out into the Martian atmosphere so that Superman can get them off planet. And it's just like, oh, hey, there's that third guy you were talking about. He's just struggling in the rubble over there. Let me get him out. And he pulls him out. And it turns out it's that little impish dude that has been showing up throughout the entire series. And Superman recognizes him. He's like, wait a minute, you're Vindictivix, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, I am. And you hurt my hand with that electric thing. I was the multitude, get it? And he reveals how he's been planning this for so long to like take down Superman. And then immediately he just turns to all the other astronauts, all the people Superman was just trying to save, and just melts them into a pile of goo. And it's just like, yeah, I can just do this, including the kid. So yeah, what are you going to do, Superman? And Vindictivix is like, you started all this. You think I'm scared of you? I'll show you fear. And he transforms into this like giant devil demon looking guy. And he's like, Superman, I have been laying traps for you since before you were even born. I'm about to set you up for the fall of a lifetime. Prepare to lose. So, yeah. This feels like it's such a strange issue to be the culmination of like 5 different plots. We had the multitude, we had Vindictivix, we had the Metalex, like all this finally just came to a head in some random ass issue where Superman gets called up to Mars. I mean, it's fine, it's a good issue, I think. It's just so strange that all these different things just coalesce here. Do I like it? Yes. I think that it's a solid issue. Again, it is literally just like 2 or 3 different Doctor Who stories all just combined into one. It's not bad, like they're good Doctor Who stories, but I can literally point out which ones they are. So overall, though, I'm going to say it's a 7.5. It's, I mean, here's the thing, is that these things felt like big deals. Like the multitude is coming and this doomed planet list. Like all these were things that were being hyped up literally from the beginning. And Superman just kind of like is, okay, I dealt with it. And sure, we still got the Vindictivix thing, but that feels like a new plot rather than continuing any of these later stuff. So then again, he could, I guess, just be the continuation of those plots, but it feels like it was just kind of wrapped up, you know? Like Superman just did it, and it didn't even take a whole issue for him to figure it out. So yeah, it's a 7.5 just from a quality standpoint, but I wish it just had a bit more pomp and circumstance, I guess.